When it comes to the Second Amendment, gun control advocates like to place an exclusive focus on the first four words of the amendment, namely the part that talks about a well-regulated militia. And they do this at the expense of pretty much the rest of the amendment itself. Now, gun rights advocates, on the other hand, like to draw attention to the latter part of it, namely the more prescriptive and effectual part of the amendment that says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Unfortunately, there's a phrase in the middle that oftentimes tends to get overlooked. I am, of course, talking about this phrase, being necessary to the security of a free state. This is perhaps at the very heart of the amendment itself. And a couple of ongoing stories from the past couple of weeks demonstrate the public interest served by the Second Amendment. The first has to do with the rioting out in Ferguson, Missouri, that frankly is an overreaction to the shooting death of an unarmed young man. Now, facts about the original shooting, which was done by a police officer, are still coming out, and whether or not you consider it justified, it still remains that all the vandalism, all the property damage, and all the looting that has occurred in light of it, oftentimes perpetrated on stores that had nothing to do with the shooting, that is not justified at all. However, 3 stores managed to survive the first wave of rioting pretty much unscathed: Malley Superstore, Country Guns, and Riverfront Tattoo. Now, the latter 2 were situated in the same strip mall as a beauty supply store and a wireless vendor, both of which were hit by looters. How did these stores survive? Obviously, by the defensive hardware they were holding. The owners of one other store, Sal's Meat Market, did get hit with looters the first night, and the owners, less than impressed with the weak response of an overextended police force, decided also to stand guard with pistols and military-style rifles to prevent any further looting. To the best of my knowledge, they have not been hit since. Police can't be everywhere, nor is there any justification for them to be, because this country is still largely comprised of law-abiding citizens. In 2012, the FBI reported a total of 9.5 million crimes, including murder, rape, robbery, burglary, and various sorts of petty and major theft, in a nation whose population is over 350 million. By the way, these numbers are declining despite population increases, and thereby further obviating any real need to invest more and more in law enforcement for most of the country. But a side effect of having a relatively small police force is that, on top of their inability to arrive at a smaller crime scene within a fairly timely fashion, we've heard the usual joke in gun rights circles that when seconds count, the police are moments away. But on top of this, they can also be overwhelmed by much larger crises like the one that you've seen in Ferguson. And where they fail, the citizens need to have the ability to defend themselves. But something else was seen in Ferguson that meshes with another potential threat to our country, ISIS, which in the past couple of weeks has made noise about terrorizing the U.S. But this is extremely foolish, because despite ISIS's determination, despite their funding, despite their organization, any designs that they would have for the U.S. would meet resistance in the form of over 350 million guns in the hands of over 100 million civilians, including countless millions of standard capacity magazines, including millions of military-style rifles, including millions of concealed carry practitioners. Also, there are thousands of citizens banded together in citizen militias throughout the country, focused upon defending their local communities. ISIS doesn't have the numbers to compete with that, and the Second Amendment makes their designs all the more difficult to carry out.